Hello, everybody. It's Kate Richburg, and I hope you can hear me. I was having a little bit of audio difficulty, so let me know give me those thumbs up to make sure that you can hear me. Okay, let me see. Let me arrange my camera so you can hear me loud and clear here. My earbuds. Uh, it just went went silent there, so I had to scramble around to get them on. But good, I am glad that it's all working. Well, hello to everyone. It's great to see all of you all here for this live broadcast on Wednesday, July 13th. Janice is here chatting on YouTube. So she is getting better and better every day with her knee replacement. So we're so pleased that she's on here watching. And of course, we've got our Gita over on Facebook saying hello. And yes, we are, she and I are both big Tour de France fans, as is Chris. So we like to cheer on our favorite tour boys. And it looks like Denmark got another stage win. So congratulations. It's a big day. It's a big Alps day in the tour. If you don't watch it, just put it on for a few minutes and look at the beautiful scenery. It's really amazing. Anyway, so hello to you. Let me turn this around. Anyone who is in the South knows that the Café du Monde, that my beautiful Louisiana roots, so I'm using this as my shout out to our New Orleans friends today. So there you go. And look who's here also watching you guys. Our Emily Miller is here. And so speaking of Emily, hello, Miss Emily. We had a great time this past Friday. There was you guys had a pre-recorded broadcast from me because Emily and I were out shopping at the gem show. And it was really funny. I met one of you, and I'm sorry, I think your name was Kim. I tried to file it away in my memory. But as Emily and I were standing in line, we had someone say to us, "You're actually here shopping the gem show." You weren't kidding when you said that on your live pre-recorded broadcast. So we saw a few of you during the gem show in San Mateo last week. So it was great to meet some faces. So thank you all so very much. Emily and I have been cooking up some things for her triumphant return in September. You might see her before that. You never know. And of course, Emily and I are going to be together coming up at I'm looking for the slide here, at our great bead shop bead retreat of 2022. It's in the great St. Francis Retreat Center at San Juan Bautista, California. So many of you have signed up for it. We're really excited to welcome you. There's a few spaces left. And if you have any questions, just shoot us an email over at info@beadshop.com. But all the facts and all of the info are right there on the page over at Beadshop. But if you do have any questions, don't hesitate. Just submit your questions right over to info@beadshop.com. There's also an FAQ page on the page that you can read about. All rooms are private. We're going to have plenty of room. So we're really looking forward to inviting all of you all who are joining us back to the bead retreat. So that's coming up. Okay, so let's get started. We have a project today from Drea. This has been in the works for a while. She and I did a little bit of shopping and added some new products to our lineup in for our prairie projects. So let me switch cameras and show you guys what I've got going on here. Let me actually move this over so it's the view's a little bit better. And let me do this here. Here we go. And let me show you the pieces themselves. You can go right over to our website and see those. They're right on the homepage. You can see Drea's two pieces called Sunflower Seeds and Phoenix, and they feature some brand new pieces that we've just launched. If they haven't been restocked already, they're going to be restocked very, very shortly because you guys love them so much. We had another order come in. You can see on that one on the left, the sunflower seeds bracelet that has that really beautiful sunflower on it. And Drea kind of made this as her kind of tribute to the Ukraine in the beautiful colors of kind of a yellow and a blue with that sunflower symbol. And then the Phoenix is a real nod to kind of the American Southwest, also really beautiful. And I'm going to talk to you about kind of the basics about our prairie project. Here's a little bit of an up close. You can see how that clasp is working. And these are all, if you go to the projects over on beadshop.com, we've got what we call a project map. And the project map is the piece all laid out so you can kind of follow along to see what's happening and kind of go from there. Okay, so let me take that off and let me go back to your comments here. And we do have an original handout. Geeta just linked it in the Facebook chat, but if you go right over to our prairie, and Janice also linked it here. If you go and you just search Prairie Leather Wrap, you'll find everything. And I want to say a big thank you, Andy. Thank you for your kind words. Congratulations to all of you on a job well done. Happy to have Kate back live. Thank you. But I did learn from the videos in June. Great. My order came very quickly after the move, and the packaging was very nice. So thank you so much. You know, I'm going to put it back to me and then we'll get back to the project just really quick. You know, we really appreciate your support during this transition. And, you know, there are always rocky roads, just like riding over the cobblestones in the Tour de France. There are rocky places when you do make change. So we really, really thank you for your patience while we make this change so we can all work remotely. We had a great meeting yesterday, actually, with our fulfillment team who was also remote. And we addressed a few concerns, things like tracking. Some of you weren't getting tracking, a little bit of extra packaging, stuff like that. So we're ironing it all out. So we really, really are hearing you. They are also a small company who are doing our fulfillment. We haven't sent it off to some big conglomerate, you know, overseas or whatever. They're also a small company who are working really, really hard for you. So if you have any questions on any of those fronts about your order, about tracking, or about anything, all of that's getting ironed out. But don't forget, Drea is just on the other side of the keyboard, right at info@beadshop.com, and we'll address those concerns as quickly as we can. Because if you don't share that info with us, we don't know how to fix it. So again, super, super appreciate. All right, let's get back to business though. But I really wanted you, you know, right from the heart, from all of our hearts, right out to you. But let's get to the project. I know some of you are like, Kate, will you please just get to the project? So let's, shall we? So here are, Drea sent me, I got a whole bunch of stuff which came to me from our fulfillment center. One of the things I love about our new packaging, just real quick, is it talks about what the actual thing is. So you've got a picture of it, and it tells you how much you've received. One of the things that we've changed from old bead shop days to new bead shop days, though they're really the same bead shop days, but we're now selling all of our leather by the yard. So if you remember, you used to get, I mean, they were really cute, right? These cute little bundles that were all wrapped and everything. But it took a lot of time and a lot of labor. And we just thought, why not just sell leather by the yard? Why not do it that way? So you can get as much or as little as you like. You can get it as little as a yard or as much as, I don't know, however many yards you want. And all of that yardage will come with no knots. Okay? No knots at all. And the other cool thing about this is if you want to reuse these baggies, these labels just peel right off super quick and super fast. Okay, so, or you can just leave them on like that as well. But it's a great way so then you can refer back and go, oh, that's exactly what I've got. So that's good. Okay, um, so here are Drea's pieces live and in person. Um, and they're both, and I agree with you, Kim Crawford just said here. She loves these demo wraps. They both show so well on screen. As as Janice says, they both have a lot of curb appeal to them. The Prairie Wrap and what you've seen us do previously on our different designs, we've used a clasp that is usually a 10 millimeter clasp. Okay, so the width of that clasp was 10 mil, so it usually fit 2 strands of the leather. Okay, and this sunflower clasp, you can see, though on the front it looks big, on the back, right, you can see that opening is 10 millimeters. Okay, so it fits in 2 strands of leather. And look at this new stitched. Isn't that beautiful? We got some other new stitch. This is stitched Plum. We had to get this one. We had to. Look at that kind of, I don't know what's it like, a Cordovan, I think is the right way to pronounce that. It's one of those words that you read but you can never pronounce, right? Kind of a classic, almost burgundy plum leather. I love that stitching down the center, and we're going to add a few more of the stitched because I think it has, I don't know, I like the look a lot. But I really love the contrast what Drea did in this one, and it's something that I've done also in different projects that you've seen, that 0.5 millimeter with the macrame here. And what Drea said, and it's in the, and I wrote it down and now I can't find where I wrote it, but it's in the project map. And she says that 1 yard of this 0.5 millimeter is going to give you about 2.5 inches of macrame knots. Okay, so she used a full yard of the macrame leather to make that 2.5 inches here. Okay, so that's kind of a good hint for you guys when you're deciding what you want to do. Okay, and then here you can see she didn't glue these sliders down, which I kind of like. I like that they actually slide. Okay, and that slider is meant to fit on a 5 millimeter piece of leather. Okay, right here. And then, of course, this sunflower clasp, you can see they've got these little nubs so that when it closes, see how I'm pulling on it, it holds together. The sunflower clasp itself, let me measure it for you. It's about 24.5 millimeters and it's round, so just shy of 25. And then the you can see that clasp, the nice big magnet is there. So yeah, for every 2.5 inches of macrame you want, you need about a yard. So she used about 5 yards in this, and it's all listed in the ingredients list on that map. So let's look at this one. If you're looking for sunflowers, the other day I was driving home after the gem show from the Bay Area back to Fresno. And I guess, Gilroy, my hometown, as you know, is known for garlic, right? But I stumbled upon the most beautiful field of sunflowers. They're growing sunflowers there. And I know my mom is watching. Ma, right where you turn from 10th Street to go on 156 to go over the Pacheco Pass, there's a huge, huge field, and all of the sunflowers were blooming. And so many people had stopped out of their cars and taken photos. So I bet if you Google Gilroy Sunflower Field, I bet you'll see a whole bunch of photos come up. But it was so super striking, and it made me really happy. I'd seen it the few times that I've gone back and forth during that month of June to kind of, to close up the office, and it made me happy each time I saw it. So a little shout out, a little hometown shout out. So this is Drea's here. That's called Phoenix, okay? And we added, we have other 5mm clasps that I love using, but we finally added it in the dots, right? Because we have the dots in the 10, which is here. Let me show you. You remember that one. And we have it in the 20, which is here. And now we have it in the 5. So now we have all 3 flavors, or all 3 sizes of those in all of the different colors. What I like doing, working with a wrap with a 5mm clasp, is it's like a long design road, right? So you can just start, and the clasp is what I usually put on last. So we'll talk about that in a second. But you can just start. You can kind of, figure out how many wraps you want. Let me take this bracelet off and let me wrap it. I always wrap it around my left wrist. And some of you may be looking at this bracelet that I'm taking off going, wait a minute, I don't know that one. Well, you better stay tuned, everybody, because this is a little sneak peek of my great bead extravaganza project and kits that are coming up. So we'll talk about that in a little bit too. But I kind of am in love with it. But anyway, what I do is to get a feeling is I just start to kind of wrap the leather around my wrist. Now Drea has smaller wrists than I do. So this probably wraps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This probably wraps 6 times around her wrist, but for me it wraps around 5, and I can kind of scoot that 5 around so you can see it actually fits me pretty darn well as a 5 wrap right here. Okay, so so that's how I start. I'll just kind of, and you can kind of measure out your leather, and then you can really start anywhere, right? Like, and I've talked about this before, when we are making a necklace, let's say, okay, the center point of that necklace is kind of the most important thing about what's going on, right? So maybe with this Prairie Wrap, if you're designing it, from scratch, you may want to think about what's going to go in the center and then string that on, okay? Or you may want to, like you can see, Drea we've got these new chevrons. And again, she didn't glue these down, which I love. I love that they move. You can see we've got this kind of chevron-y, what do we call it? We call it the Southwest slider. I've got it here in the antique copper. Let me show you a little closer on screen. So you can see it has some openings in it. So the cord, the leather goes through it, and you're able to see the leather through the actual component. This is our Candy Shimmer Leather in orange, something that we also just launched. And it feels super summery and happy to me, and it has a little bit of that shimmer to it. So I think it goes really well with this copper. So as I lay things out and show you how I'm going to put this together, I'm going to use this Candy Shimmer Leather. But you can also see she's got some of these smaller ones, these little, what are we calling these? I must have some here. It's our small little slider that has that little cross hatch to it. And it's a super skinny one, so they stack up really nicely. Leslie's asking about the macrame and has it been glued? It's been glued at the end, so I'm going to show you. I'm going to do a section here. So let me get started and show you how I might begin. You know, just designing with some random parts because Drea sent me some random parts. So I'm going to use these. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this one with the 20 millimeter. Okay. And this will give me four, um, four lengths of leather. Okay. And so let me get my tape measure around here. And since this is by the yard, what I'm going to do, 18, so this will give me 4 pieces of 9-inch leather, right? Because it's a yard. So I'm going to cut all of these, and I'm doing this off screen here. I'm going to cut all of these because I'm looking for my wire cutters, which are the best things to use. I had them sitting here not 10 minutes ago, and they're not on the wall. Well, I'll use my snips here that I've got. And so I'm going to cut these into 4 9-inch pieces. Now I know that this is going to be too long, right, for me. But this is going to be my 4. Then I can have a little extra and stuff to work with. Okay. And Janice is saying it's called crosshatch. Thanks, JP, for that. That little slider is called crosshatch. Now, you can kind of lay these out. You can tape them to your table or however you want to do it. What I think I'm going to do is I think I'm just going to use my clampers and just kind of clamp these down so they're flat, so I can start to visualize what the heck it is I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to hold that other side down with these seed beads. Okay, there we go. Yeah, Alfred did borrow them. I have no idea where they went to, but there we go. Add a little weight to it. And so on this one, Drea did that beaded section of the macrame. And then on that sunflower, like we said earlier, she used that 0.5 millimeter. So if I have 4, and the clasp I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use all of this in copper. This is our swirl clasp in the antique copper. Look how pretty that is, right? Janice says that she uses nonstick Scotch tape and she can secure them to her granite or Formica table. That's a great idea. I also have some painter's tape. You could use that, right, and secure them right smack dab to your table. Whatever works. But for the camera, this little kind of rigging that I'm doing, I think is working okay. So I know that my clasp is going to be there. Okay. And then I've got 4. I could use different colors too, right? Kathleen's saying you could use different colors of leather. I could put on the outside that stitched um, uh, plum would look really beautiful. We also have, if you remember my last great bead extravaganza, the expedition bracelets, we had that embossed leather. Well, now we have it in brown, and look at how pretty this embossed and that plum look together, right? That really looks great. But I think I want to make this, I don't know, I guess I'm thinking of super summer colors, or I don't know. This colorway is kind of bizarre, but it's I'm actually okay with it. I'm pretty, it's definitely not a Kate colorway, but that's a good thing, I think. Try and break out of your shell, I suppose. Um, Let me get all of these over there. So I've got all of these sliders, this little sunflowery slider, these chevrons, and then these Southwest ones. And I think I'm going to use some natural leather as well. Okay. So I've got an even number of strands here. If I had an odd number, it would be, pardon me, pretty easy for me to figure out, oh, I want to do, uh, this and then maybe flank it with different pieces or whatever. But here, what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to offset those two like that, right? And then I'm going to throw this guy here and this guy here. Drea just popped in as she's heating her lunch up. A big hi to Drea. And Drea, you can go back through all of the comments and see how much people are loving your piece. And I'll throw that slider up there and maybe that slider down there. Okay, that looks okay to me. So I'm going to go ahead and string these on. Now I don't have to commit because I'm not going to glue them down. So I'm just going to string these sliders on so I know what's what. So here's this one. And I love how this pearlized orange right here has that orange wash on the side. Yeah, Drea threw out that challenge. She's all, I'm going to send her orange. Let's see what she does with it. So, but I like it. It is going to shape up, that's for sure. So I'm going to unclip them now so I can kind of see what I've got here. And we'll go with this one. Make sure that you're putting the chevron in the right position here. Though if you put it going facing the other way, like that, that wouldn't be terrible either. I don't mind that configuration. I know, you did send me a whole bunch of colors, but I'm going to pick up this orange challenge right here, right now. Okay, so I've strung one of each on here. So now I need to make some more decisions. Like, where am I going to macrame? What am I going to macrame? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do just a little bit of plain macrame on this one that has this sunflower. Okay, and then we can see I'm going to cut that yard of the 0.5 millimeter, and then there's that 1, 2, and 3 yards. I'm cutting it off camera here because that's where my ruler is. So here's my yard. And I know, you guys, since this is a 9-inch piece, that this clasp here is, I think it's about an inch. Let me measure here real quick. That's going to take up a lot of length, right? So this clasp, it's an inch. So already I've taken up an inch here. And so a finished bracelet like this with the width and stuff, I want to make it at about 7.5 inches for me, right? So I'm going to give myself a little visual. Let me get a little piece of paper. So I know that if I mark out what I'm going to be using or where I need to place everything, it gives me a little guide. So let me grab a sheet of paper here and a pencil. And I'm going to go ahead and just to be on the safe side, I'm going to mark out 6.5 inches here. Okay. And that's where I'm going to keep my, this is a 6-inch ruler. That doesn't really help me too much. Well, I'll add it to the end. It's my little metal smithing ruler. But here's my 6. And then I'll just add another 1/2 inch. So this is going to be my little guide. Okay. So I know that when I am making my piece, if I keep the design portion in between these two in this area, then I'll be able to size everything and stuff when I'm ready to glue it into the clasp. But this gives me a little area to work with. Now, Drea didn't glue down her clasps. Okay, she kind of let them flow freely. I am actually, just so you see it and just for fun, I'm actually going to glue mine down. Now you can glue, let me get a little closer here so you can see this. I'm going to glue this in the spot I want it. So, because these are short and it'll just be easier not for me to have it move around. You can use Zap. I'm also today, just to mix it up, because I always use Zap, I'm going to use a little E6000. Okay. E6000 works just as well like that. I like using it. I was also looking for my toothpicks. I think I need another toothpick holder, so I'm going to use a little piece of wire, a little head pin here to put it on. Now I'm going to slide my slider up just a little bit from where I want it. I'm going to add my E6000. The thing about the E6000 that's so good is that it's kind of viscous. Can you see how I'm just kind of adding it on there? And I'm right under where the air is blowing, so it's setting up pretty quickly. And now I'm just going to push it, and it really take away any little extra that comes out. But you can see, since the back is open, I don't want to glue the back. I just want to this, to do this like that. So I'm just gonna glue mine there because I want it to stay. Drea is saying, and I'll put this on the thing so she can see it. She rarely glues the sliders on her pieces. The crosshatch sliders you can actually crimp in place with an awl. And I think you mean, Drea, because that crosshatch slider has that little dot in the back. If you push it face down and push your awl down on that, it just helps you crimp it right into place, which is very terribly clever. Terribly, terribly clever. So that looks good. But since these are shorter strands, I'm going to glue them. Okay, and so while I've got this E6000 out and I've got these lined up, I might as well glue them all. And you can see I'm working under, again, the air in here is blowing pretty quickly. So I've got to not chitty chat and get this business glued. So let me glue this next one, and I'm going to slide this one over. I don't need to be super exact because I'm going to macrame around it and stuff, but just a little touch. See that of that? No, you cannot because I'm off camera. There we go. Just a little touch of that glue. Slide it in place and push it. And then, whoops, that one came off. But I'll put a little bit of glue there. Let's get this back on. Slide it up. And I'll do the same thing here. Now you could also glue these after the fact too. Like if your bracelet's done and you're kind of sliding everything around and you're like, yep, that's what the way I like it, you could glue it in place then too. I'm going to press these because again, I don't want any glue to seep out the back. Okay. And this is what Drea also put this up from the manufacturer. After you've arranged your sliders on the leather, use a pointed metal tool, such as an awl, to carefully place the back and crimp it into place. But do remember that's only for the crosshatch sliders. So that's a great tip there. So there's that one. There's this one. I'm going to push this one over a little bit here. And I'm just going to glue this center one in place for now. Gosh, this E6000, it's setting up quickly today. So another little drop right there. That's why we carry them in such small little tubes, is I have yet to finish a tube of E6000 without it actually, like, not going bad, but stiffening up in the tube, right? So that's why we sell them in these kind of inexpensive little tubes. You can grab 2 or 3. They last for a few projects, and so you don't feel bad about, throwing away a whole big tube. So look, so there's that one, and we might as well finish this last one over here, and I'm going to slide it like here, and I'll glue it. See if I can get that E6000 on there and push it in place. Also, put the lid back on, everybody. There you go. Okay, good. So now these are glued. So now let's go ahead. This first one, I'm going to set these other 3 aside. Let's bring this tray back in. And I'm going to have this little thing handy here just so I can come in, and so if I see here, right, I know that slider is going to sit about right there, probably. So I'm going to do some macrame. I'm going to start it maybe about right here. So I know that I'm going to cut these ends away later, so I'm not too worried about my leather getting marked because I'm going to cut these ends away. If you are doing that, clamping these to your board, you just want to make sure that you're either clamping the very tip that you're going to cut away later, or that you have like a little padding, like a baggie or something on there so it doesn't mark the leather on there, because these clamps will do it. So I'm going to macrame about in here. Okay. Now here's that 0.5 millimeter. One of the things that I do before I macrame with the 0.5, because it's thin, I kind of run it through my fingers to make sure that everything, that there's no like hidden flaw where it might break. And I know this is going to give me about 2.5 inches. So I'm going to start it about here. And then it should go kind of close up to the slider. Now we have as you know, or if you're fairly new to Beadshop, you may not know, we have some really great basic videos that I do that show you how to do this flat macrame. But essentially these are pairs of square knots. I come in, I make my loop, and I have that tail of the loop go over my leather. Tail from the left side comes over that leather coming from the right, underneath that center bridge of leather, and then bring it up and tighten. And then do the same thing on the other side. Okay. And I'm going to keep going here. And I don't have to do this whole thing, but I'm going to go at Kate's speed a little bit, and I want to show you how I would close this off, except Kate's speed got a little tangled right there. Oh, and can you see I did that on the wrong side? I can see that because I have two little knot bumps right there, so I just use my awl to take that out, and I'll do it from that side. Sometimes, oh no, come on, I did it again. The way you know, I'm thinking already of what I'm going to do next, so my mind's not on this task. You know that with that little knot bump there, the loop needs to be on that same side. There we go. Phew. That works out. And you get fairly fast at doing this, right? You'll just come in and we'll just continue. Now, I'm going to start thinking about how I want this to be when I close it. I probably won't do the whole 2.5 inches here. And I see a question here. If you wanted to use beads on that 1.5 millimeter, what size beads accommodate the macrame cord? So if we were doing beads, if we were macrameing with 1.5, Kathleen, was that the question? Clarify that for me just a little bit. I'm going to check and see if I'm doing that beaded macrame. What Drea did here with the beaded macrame, we use Ceylon. Okay, so the Ceylon here uses that A-dot. I don't know if that A-dot is going to fit on this 0.5. It might, but you may want to bump it up to a 6-aught. No, they fit just fine on here. So if you're doing the 1.5, you could try a 6 millimeter if you wanted to do that, or you could use probably like our regular shadows beads or whatever, but you just want to look for a hole size that's going to accommodate that 1.5. I'm not going to do any beading on this stitch here. I'm going to do it next when I jump into the Ceylon. Okay, but let me just finish this up and see. I don't want it to get too tight up against my slider, though you could, because if the slider was right up against it, you could just pull these strands right into this slider and then glue it all up here, and you wouldn't have to worry about that. It would be glued, but I'm just going to have this be a standalone piece, so I'm going to glue it. So this is about, where'd my little ruler go? Here it is. This is about 1.5 inches or so of knotting. Let me get just a hair closer. There we go. I'm going to do a couple more here. Now, you can use your E6000 for this. You could also use your Zap, but I'm going to use my GS Hypo for this. And the GS Hypo, what I'm going to do, because I'm still going to add a few more knots, I'm going to come in and on my first set of knots, see how I'm putting a little bit of glue right there and right there on the sides. So I haven't done a big glop of it. It's just coming down here, and I'm going to add just a touch more. And right there. Okay. We get the lid. We all know that's the trick. And I'm going to tie, looks like I can get 2 more knots here. And see how it grabs that glue. I'm going to do my second one. Now, before I tighten anything up, I'm going to unclamp it from my board and I'm going to turn it over. And now I'm going to add some glue across the back. I'm going to add that glue here. See right there? And I'm going to add it just inside, and I should have my plastic baggie down, just inside where those knots are going to tighten. And mind you, again, this is the back. There we go. And so I tighten that up. I turn it over. You can see I've covered all that glue there. And now I'm going to neaten up the back a little bit. I'm just going to add a little more glue here. And then I'm going to take some of that glue away. But I'm going to glue it right on the back so it doesn't show on the front. The glue will darken the leather just a touch, but again, it's on the back of the bracelet, so you won't see it. I'm going to get that little toothpick, or in this case, this piece of wire here, and I'm going to kind of, for lack of a better term, shove that glue down into that knot so everything is glued in there. And I'm going to just make sure that it comes just to the top. So can you see here? So see how neat that is here? It's neat on the back, nicely glued. I'm not going to touch this. I'm going to put this aside for now. So I'll come in and I'll cut it a little bit later. So there's one. Okay. So let me put it over here. Let's take this friend right here. Okay. And what I'm going to do with this one is I think I'm going to do a little bit of beaded macrame on this side and on this side. I got our lavender Ceylon, regular Ceylon. I think it's lavender. I looked it up before the show, and let me just make sure that is correct. But this is regular. Now you could use any color or any size rather that you like, right? I'm using the regular Ceylon because I want my Ceylon just to have, a little more. No, this is the periwinkle. Sorry, it was not. I didn't think it was lavender. It's the periwinkle in regular. Okay. But you could use any color that you wanted. any weight that you wanted fine would also work out nicely. But I really want to see those stitches. Okay. So, and I thought this purple, purple and orange, they're, directly across from each other on the color wheel. So I pulled that. I pulled that because Drea also sent me some A-dots, and there are new ones. It's the celery. It's from our monthly mix this month. It's the 8-2374. So I'm going to use a few of those here. And I also need to figure out how I want to do this beaded macrame. Can you see how with Drea, how she put her beads directly across from each other? So there's a large opening there. So you can see a lot of the leather underneath it. Okay. So, I don't know. I guess I'm going to decide as I'm working with it. So let me clamp this back on. And how much Ceylon to cut? I don't know. Maybe, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to cut 4 feet. That's probably a lot, but Ceylon is inexpensive and I don't want to run out. Okay, so here's this. Okay. So with this, I come in. No, this is definitely the periwinkle color here. And I'm going to go, I don't know. I don't want this to be a super long section. So maybe I'll go about, I don't know, about an inch. So it's about 2 inches from where this piece is. Okay. So let me get a little bit closer. And you can see, again, I'm going to try and go quickly here. So you can, and I find the center of my thread and I just start. And I'm going to give myself a few macrame knots before I do anything else. That first one wants to scoot around the back, so don't let it. You're in charge here. So let me tighten that one up. I'll push it up a little bit. Tighten it up, and then come in and tighten the second one below it. Except the second one below it didn't want to sit nicely, so let me do this again. You could put a little drop of glue here if you didn't want to fight it, but I'm in charge of this thread, so I'm just going to knot it. Give that a little tighten, and then bring your second one up and tighten it. There we go. And look at how nice this orange looks peeking out underneath that periwinkle. Pantone color of the year this year. So I've got 3, so I want to make sure I've got 3 on both sides. Okay, so there's that. So now, whoops, I keep doing that. I keep doing the wrong side. I don't know what's the matter with me. Loop needs to go on that side. There we go. All right. That looks correct. Now, this is going to be my loop side here, right, for my next stitch. I'm going to add 1 bead. So I'm not going to do 2 across. I'm going to offset them. So there goes that one on the loop. And I tie that loop in like that. See, that one's sitting there. Let me get a little tighter so you can see that. Now I'm going to add 1 on the other side, the side that I make my loop with. So here it goes down. And I could pre-string these if I, commit and make a decision. but there's that one. Okay. And I'm going to do, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do these one after the other, kind of like our Bollywood bracelet style. So there goes one on that side. And if you do this where you offset them, you can pre-string them all on one side. Like if I know, so this is the one where it needs to go here. If I string one, so that'll be that pair. Here will be the second pair, 2, and then I'll do one more set of 2. If I string them all on this side, sorry, let me get a little further out so you can see me. I'll tie a knot down here so they don't come off. And I'll get these beads out of the way so I don't knock them to the floor. I can pre-string them. And then I can just bring that one up, make my loop, and go underneath and tighten. And now magically my beads are on the other side. So I bring that one up, go through, and tighten. And so you still see some of that orange there underneath. But I like the way this celery green, these are all kind of nice soft colors. So I think they all play together in the color sandbox pretty well, right? So here's this one, and we'll do our last one here. And now I think I did 3 sets of macrame. Okay, so let me do 3, or 3 pairs, so 6 singles. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, so close. Now, I'm going to do 5 and 6, okay? So I need to start thinking about my gluing stitch at this point. So like I glued that other one, I'm going to come in and I'm going to just glue on the front for my first stitch. And that comes in my second to the last stitch. Okay. And now my last one, I'll turn it over and I'll get that glue on the back. And as I tie it, let me see, it's on this side. I want to try not to get any of that glue on my velvet pad. I'm going to come in and tie that last one. And before I tighten it, I'm going to give, let me get it so you can see it. I'm going to give just a hair of glue right on the side where that, sorry, you can't see that, right on the side where that knot is going to close up. And then I'm going to tighten it up. And then I'm going to go to the back. I'm going to add a little more glue where that needed to be there. Make sure that's glued. Make sure that's glued. What did I do? I smushed with this wire or my toothpick to really get that glue down in there. And I'm going to set that aside and I'm going to use my thread burner. But look at how nice that looks, nice and even, right? So I did 3 pairs here and then 4 of the beads that are offset. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Okay, let's go back and take a look. Our leather one should be dry enough here to clip this away. Okay, so let me get this guy in. And I'm going to come in with my thread snips, or you can do this with your really sharp wire cutters too. But I'm going to clip it right there and there. And if you feel like, oh, is it really glued? You can come in. Let me wipe the tip of this glue. It's not very nice. You can come in and give it another drop right there and another drop right there. And we'll let that sit. Okay. So we've got so far the makings of 2 of these straps. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about how these would get glued in, because I can finish these and glue them in. The rest of them a little bit later, but let's talk about gluing in. And I'm going to get my thread burner. I can come in and I'm going to thread burn that, singe it, and then if I have to glue it a little bit later, I will do. But I want to get rid of these tails. So I'm going to come in where I glued. Again, if you were doing this at home, I'd let this sit a little bit longer. But right here under tension in a well-ventilated area, heat your thread burner, get that tip hot so you can see it, and just touch it. Burn that thread away. Turn it. Heat the tip and touch it. Pull it away under tension. And then, if you need to, you can tamp down. That's why you want to use this in a well-ventilated area. Because can you see how there's that little tiny piece right there? Okay. Yeah, sorry I keep getting out of frame. I'm still learning this new spot. So thanks for bearing with me, everybody. Sorry about that. I'm the camera woman and the so-called talent. Where's my production assistant? Remember those good old days when we had like Brandwin was filming and we had all kinds of stuff? But it's also fun being a one-woman show. What can you do? Literally, one-woman show. So here's this one here. Okay, like this. So let me clamp those to the board. Let me get my other ones. This one, and I think I like these in the middle, the heavier ones, right? And then maybe I like these a little further out like that, okay? So here, I'm going to do another little bit of this macrame right here, this beaded macrame, maybe a short piece. Then I'll do another beaded macrame right here and another short piece here. And then here, I'll do another just single of that leather. Okay. So if I like this configuration, which I do, I'm going to go ahead and clamp the rest of these to this board, and I'm going to measure, because I need to, if I'm going to glue, and I don't have to glue these 2 yet, I can really just focus on these because I know, so I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to focus on these 2. We'll glue these in, and then I'll come back in and glue these later. So let me get my little guide here. Okay. And so I know that that looks about right. Okay, for where these need to lay. So now I need to look at my clasp. Okay, and I'm going to use one of these guys just to demonstrate. This clasp is going to take up a full inch, but it also, when I insert the leather, see, I need some extra. So I'm going to go ahead and test it. I'm going to cut this off straight. And excuse me while I use my heavy duty wire cutters here because I can't find my Xuron ones, but these are going to work just fine. I'm going to cut it straight across with my wire cutter. I'm going to insert it and I'm going to mark it and we're going to measure it, okay, for this side. There's my mark. Let's get our millimeter gauge. And it's about 5.5 millimeters, okay? And on the other side, let's just insert this and see if it's the same. It's the same. So I'm going to add 5 millimeters to this end. So I'm going to turn these over. And I'm going to mark it right here. It doesn't have to be super exact. Let me make sure since I'm turning these over. Yeah, I want this one to be about right there. And come down here and right here. Okay, then let me hold these together. Yeah, those are about even. And I do this, you guys, all at the same time, right? After all of them are done. I'm just going to do the 2 now so that we don't go too far over. Now I'm going to set my millimeter gauge to that extra 0.5. And I can use it. See how if I run it across, it's kind of hard for you to see, but it makes a mark. Whoops, you can't see that at all. It makes a mark right there in the leather. So I can come in and just draw a line on that mark. Double check that length. Yep, that looks right. So I'm going to use that length for all of my pieces. Okay, so at least I'll be consistent. And then this one. Okay, so I will have done that with all 4 of them. Okay, now this is really important. You're going to come in with your wire cutter. So now let's measure twice and cut once before I do this. We know this is 6.5 inches plus an inch, 7.5. I like my wide bracelet, since this is a wide bracelet, I like it to fit a little more loosely. So my finished one is going to be 7.5 inches. That's my length. My regular wrist size is about 6.5. But again, I like to do a lot of stacking and stuff. So 7.5 with a bracelet that's this wide works for me. If the bracelet was a little thinner, maybe if it were a 10 millimeter, only 2 or whatever, I might make it a little bit smaller. Or if it's a wrap and it has to wrap around multiple times like Drea's, it also needs a little bit of that extra room, right? Because those wraps lay over one another. So just think about your length here. But I'm going to come in and we're going to say that this is the right one. So I'm just going to have the courage of my convictions and cut them. Now make sure that you cut the right the right mark, the top mark and not the bottom mark. I had a quick panic there for a second, right? Because this is what's going to go inside your clasp. That would have been not fun. But save these little bits because this can help you to measure for other things, number one. Number two, you could also bore a little hole in these with your awl, add a jump ring or whatever, and use it as a connector in your jewelry, right? You could do a little bit of macrame on here, and you could use this as a connector. Again, boring a little hole in there with your awl. I'll do it from the back. You could mark it. Be really careful that you don't run that awl through your finger. You could also do it by hammering a nail or something through there too. But so these little bits are always very handy to hang on to. So I know that this is going to be my outside one. This is going to be the one that's going to sit next to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue these two in, and I'll glue my other ones later. Okay. So let's use that E6000 and let's talk about gluing into clasps, because that clasp is where this piece is going to take the most wear and tear. Okay. So you can use the Zap or the E6000. Since I'm using the E6000 today, that's what I have out. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep my clasp connected because God forbid you glue them and your clasp is backwards, right? So just keep it connected. I'm going to do this long end first. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to put my E6000 on the back side of this clasp, kind of where those two are going to go. And I'm also kind of putting it on the bottom. Okay, this is the one that goes towards the edge. So I'm going to add a little more E6000 to the tip and just to the bottom, now the back of the leather. We don't want any of this glue to seep out to the front. Okay, and look at that. It lines up with that little mark. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to push that down. And I'm going to hold it there for a second. Now your next one, when you glue it in, you want to make sure that you're gluing the correct side in. So I think that this goes in next here. So let me just swipe that in, and get it in there as well before that E6000 has a chance to set up too much. But really push them down in there so that the glue will really take. And if you see just a little, you can kind of remove that extra. Okay, so next, after I finish the other two, here's the other one. After I finish the others, I think this one will go in this way, I think. Or maybe it'll go in, actually, I think it'll go in this way. But you can see I have room, and I'm not going to put them in case I've got any more glue in there, but I've got room for these two to go in. So you really just want to push them together, Let this dry, let it set for a couple of hours, and then you'll glue the other side because you don't want this side to be disturbed. You really want to let it sit. Okay. So that's it. That's all there is to it. Someone suggested a really good name for this earlier. Was it Sunset something? Or I can't remember if it was you and you're still, I'll have to go back through the chat and double check. The other thing I want to mention here is after you glue that first side, see how I've got a little bit of discrepancy here? I'll come in and I'll trim everything so it's even. This is just about 1/8 of an inch, so it's not going to make much of a difference here. But I want to make sure that they're all the same length when I bring them around and glue the other side. Okay, so you'll see this. I'll finish this up and we'll have Drea add it to our projects as well. Okay. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, today's excitement. I did. I sure did. Let me tell you what we've got coming up. On Friday, you guys, we have a flash sale. And it's our flash sale Fridays are back. You can't really see them behind me. Let me turn the camera. Right there where I'm pointing, right there, you can see I've got some beautiful African trade beads that we're doing a flash sale on. So I'm going to have these. These will be up. Let me grab them all. You'll see them on Friday. You'll see the preview. But I've got a whole bunch of lusciousness for you coming up on Friday, the flash sale. The way the flash sale works is I talk about the beads. I show you everything about the beads on the regular show. And then everything goes live at noon Pacific time. Okay, there's limited quantities, but don't worry, we have flash sales all the time. Those aren't going away, so don't worry about that. But you're going to like, I think you're going to like these. Next week, let me grab these off the wall. Next week, a couple of things are happening. And I know I've been doing a lot of pre-recorded shows lately, but it's because we've been so super busy. Two things I've had on the books for a long time. One is our Great Bead Extravaganza Midsummer Market, right? That's happening Saturday, July 23rd. We're going to have some kits out for that. This is one of them. The project is what I'm calling beach glass. It's a really beautiful, I've made these mixes and I've had these mixes sitting for a few months. Remember when I was buying beads in my driveway? This is the result of that. That flash sale is as well. You can wear it as a wrap. It also layers really beautifully as a necklace. And I've got several colorways for you. So on Friday, whatever that Friday is, watch your newsletters. Friday, the 22nd, there's going to be a preview with all of our great friends from the Great Bead Extravaganza are going to be on previewing their projects. And then my segment will be on Saturday, and I think it's at 11 a.m. Pacific. But that one is actually going to be pre-recorded. All my segments next week are going to be back to pre-recorded, but I promise that's the last of the pre-recording for a while, because next week I'm going to do a stone setting class that I'm super excited about. I've been waiting to do this for a whole year. So I'm traveling. Hope everything will be good. And learning how to set fancy gemstones in high karat gold. I know. So that's what I'll be doing next week. So this will be pre-recorded. And then on Wednesday, next Wednesday, I'll also have a pre-recorded broadcast for you where I'm going to go over these guys, the grape earrings that you guys love so much. And I've got a couple of little twists and turns on those. So you'll have a fun project. And then we'll be back to regularly scheduled live broadcasts. This looks great as a necklace too. I might just keep it as a necklace, but I think you guys are going to love these. So stay tuned to your newsletters because we will have more about this here as well. So thank you, you guys, so much, as always, for your support for everything during our transition, because without you guys out there, we here wouldn't be able to do what we love. So thank you again so much for watching. You can find all of the information on the project, Drea's Prairie projects, and this new one that I just made today, right over on our website at beadshop.com. Make sure to sign up for our newsletter for all of the latest discounts, giveaways, and new products. I am looking across my studio right now at a table filled with new stuff that's coming down the pike. So I cannot wait to share those with you. I will see you on Friday for our flash sale. And again, don't forget to join us on our social at beadshop.com on Instagram. Please tag us over there if you do make anything with our projects or our beads, so we can share that to our stories. Thank you so much for joining us over at the Bead Table, our Facebook group. We love having you over there. And of course, you can like and subscribe us right on YouTube for all of our latest video content. Well, a big shout out to both Gita and Janice. Thank you, JP, for joining us over on YouTube. Janice is getting better and better, and you will see her on a broadcast with me soon. Thanks so much, everyone, and I'll see you Friday for that flash sale. Thanks, everybody.